Imagine a world where the most incredibly complex machines ever built by humanity are literally invisible to the naked eye. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to take a thrilling journey into the microscopic magic of VLSI technology, that's very large-scale integration, and see how the relentless, mind-boggling miniaturization of circuits has completely transformed our world over the last 50 years.
Okay, let's establish exactly what we're looking at here. When you're holding your smartphone or typing away on your laptop, you are holding a device powered by a silicon wafer that looks just like this. Only, instead of just a few standard wires, a modern chip cut from this wafer integrates upwards of 50 billion tiny, microscopic electrical switches. We call these switches transistors.
Now, you really have to ask yourself, how in the world do we manage to fit 50 billion switches onto a space smaller than a postage stamp? And more importantly, how does that seemingly impossible shrinking act actually give us the lightning-fast phones we love without them just instantly melting right in our hands? I mean, how do you even design or power something that incredibly small?
Well, don't worry if this sounds like dense physics, because we're going to break it all down. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover the magic of shrinking, the anatomy of a transistor, the math of Moore's law, hitting the thermal wall, modern transistor architectures, and finally, what happens when we approach the atomic limit.
Let's dive right into Section 1, the magic of shrinking and why we actually scale these things in the first place.
Before we even touch the math, we need to understand the core motivation here. It all comes down to four massive engineering imperatives. Shrinking transistors yield simultaneous gains across all four of these areas, which is the foundational promise of Moore's law. First, higher transistor density, giving us vastly more complex chips. Second, higher operating speed, because shorter distances mean electrons travel faster. Third, lower power, since smaller devices switch with far less energy. And fourth, reduced cost, because you can fit way more chips onto a single wafer. It is literally the ultimate engineering miracle, a simultaneous win across the board.
Moving right along to Section 2, anatomy of a transistor, looking inside the machine. So, if we strip away all the wild complexity, a transistor basically has a few critical parts. You have the source and the drain. Think of them as the start and the end of a tiny electrical bridge. Above them sits the polysilicon gate, and that acts as the toll booth controlling the flow of electricity. The distance between that start and end point is absolutely crucial. It acts as our main scaling bottleneck, because controlling that electrical channel gets incredibly difficult the closer they get to each other.
Now for Section 3. The math of Moore's law and the all-important scaling factor.
To understand how we shrink these physical parts predictably, generation after generation, we use the scaling factor. We'll just call it S. Think of this like an Alice in Wonderland scenario. If you shrink an entire city by a factor of half, suddenly you can fit 4 times as many buildings into that exact same area. So if we drop from a 180 nanometer node down to 90 nanometers, our scaling factor is 2. Every linear dimension is divided by 2, and because the total area reduces by s squared, our density magically quadruples in a single generation.
But there's a catch. Back in 1974, Robert Dennard proposed a brilliant rule. He showed that if you shrink the physical dimensions by a factor of s, you must shrink the supply voltage by that exact same amount. If you do that, gate delay improves, meaning faster speeds, but power density safely remains constant. This elegant model, known as Dennard scaling, is the exact predictable rhythm that let the industry steadily shrink chips for over 30 years.
Which brings us to Section 4, hitting the thermal wall, or what happens when perfect models completely break down.
Like I said, that elegant Dennard model worked flawlessly for 3 decades. But eventually, engineering pragmatism totally clashed with physics. Chip makers had to start keeping the voltage fixed to match older legacy hardware standards, even while they continued to shrink the physical chips. Contrast the balanced power of the Dennard model with what happened next. Constant voltage scaling caused terrifying thermal runaway. The electric field rose, and power density increased by a factor of s. Every time the chip shrank, it got much, much hotter.
And there was an exact microscopic threshold where these traditional scaling models just gave up entirely: 45 nanometers.
Yeah, below 45 nanometers, leakage currents broke the voltage scaling assumption completely. We hit a literal thermal wall. The power density and heat generation made thermal management absolutely impractical for consumer devices. I mean, the chips were leaking power even when they were turned off. If engineers couldn't figure out a way around it, the smartphone revolution, which was just kicking off around 2007, would have frozen dead in its tracks.
So how did they survive? That's Section 5,
modern transistor architectures, and the 3D solution.
To survive that dreaded thermal wall, the industry basically had to abandon flat transistors and build upwards. In 2007, they introduced advanced insulating materials, high-K metal gates, to stop power from leaking. But the real game changer hit in 2011 with incredibly complex 3D architectures called FinFETs. By raising the channel into a 3D fin and wrapping the gate around it, they desperately and successfully controlled the power leakage. Fast forward to 2022, and we move to 3-nanometer gate-all-around, where the gate literally surrounds the silicon channel on all sides for the ultimate electrical control.
And this chart brilliantly illustrates the explosive exponential density gains we achieved once we mastered these 3D designs. Look at the original 180 nanometer node. Comparatively, it's near zero. By the time 3D FinFETs arrived at 22 nanometers, we're at about 100 million transistors per square millimeter. But today, at the 3 nanometer node, a staggering 3,000 million. That is 3 billion transistors squeezed into that exact same tiny space. Just let that sink in.
As you can guess, achieving this requires a level of manufacturing precision unparalleled in human history. Today, foundry titans like Intel, TSMC, and Samsung are locked in a frantic, high-stakes race to push beyond the 3-nanometer limit, pouring billions of dollars into claiming the advanced logic crown.
Finally, Section 6, Approaching the Atomic Limit. What exactly comes next?
Because here's the reality. Even with 3D transistors and brilliant engineering, we are now quite literally colliding with the fundamental laws of the universe. We're battling terrifying physical impossibilities. We are trying to control electricity using insulating gate oxides that are literally only a few atomic layers thick. Add in thermal walls constraining our clock speeds, extreme ultraviolet lithography machines that cost over $200 million each, and the chaotic, unpredictable variability of individual atoms at this scale. It is without a doubt the toughest engineering challenge on Earth.
It leaves us totally marveling at the sheer ingenuity of this industry. The era of simple scaling is long gone. We've gone 3D, we've wrapped the gates, and now we are bumping elbows with individual atoms. So as these physical barriers start to look downright impossible to break, where exactly does the technology go from here?